you accept your story, you love your story, and you find purpose in your story. And this delivery carries with it an emotional charge that propels people to be very cognizant of your presence in business because your business becomes your mission.
Consider some of these dynamics in being able to boost our brand loyalty and increase revenue with storytelling, because that is why we are using storytelling anyway, because we want to better connect to the audience. But why are we connecting to the audience? It's because we want to serve them better.
All the big brands that you've mentioned, again, you mentioned Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Apple. So all these big brands, they have a unique identity. They convey what they believe. Definitely a word for it, right? What they truly believe. And then you realize that what they're conveying is not just their belief, it's a way of being.
Hello and thank you for checking out this video. I'm Obehi Ewanfoh, the host of the Business Storytelling audio series event. The event is held on LinkedIn every 2 weeks, where we talk about different ways we can leverage the power of storytelling in our business and professional life. If this is your first time of hearing about this event, I encourage you to join us in the next one. I help entrepreneurs and professionals to own their story so they can attract the right audience and drive success. I'm the author of the Storytelling Mastery, a 5-part book series that takes you by the hands through the ABC of storytelling. If you find that interesting, you can claim the first chapter for free at aclasses.org/free chapter. Now back to today's conversation. The party has started. Now today we are talking about boosting brand loyalty and increasing revenue. Now let me ask us a question. Is there anybody here that want to boost revenue? Anyway, keep the answer to yourself, because that is going to be part of the conversation today. And I'm really happy that we are doing this at this time of the year. This is in May. And I think at this time, people are already sort of making a calculation, because the first 3 months is already gone. After the first 4 months is gone. If you are in business, you are sort of asking yourself, what is going on? Yes, we need to ask ourselves those questions.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Behi. Hi, Mr. Eni. Hi, Tanya. Hi, everyone in the audience. I hope you're having a good day today. So yeah, if you're just meeting me for the first time, my name is Hannah Idachaba and I am a branding strategist. And what that means is I do a lot of work with professionals to help them sort of create a brand that is a true reflection of who they are and what their business stands for, and aligning that with their values, and majorly on LinkedIn here. So if that's something that you're interested in, pop me a message and I'll be sure to respond. So let's go to today's conversation. All right, this conversation is something that is similar to what I do. In fact, when you are working with clients, the first thing that, amongst the many things that you're thinking about, is how can I create a system that serves for return clients? Because you want to have that system that can essentially aid return clients. Because if we're being honest, that's what keeps a business afloat, amongst many other things, of course. So, how do you sort of push brand loyalty and increase revenue with storytelling? When I first saw the topic, the first thing that came to my mind was relatability. And when we talk about relatability, I think that that word is often used a lot of the time, that we sort of lose the true meaning of what it really means to be relatable. And I thought to myself, this is such an important point to bring up, because I see a lot of businesses and professionals who, I don't know what it is, but they sort of have this distance with the content that they create and how they've been able to brand themselves, where it looks like they are not reachable. And more than common. I see that a lot, especially here on LinkedIn, where in a bid to sound professional, people lose their essence, lose the humanness of who they are, and sort of aren't relatable anymore. And it's so interesting because we are in a climate in business where customers want to know who you are behind the glitz and the glamour, behind the fancy suits, behind the flashy cars. People want to know who you are and why they should work with you, why they should buy from you. And so when I see that gap, I'm wondering, this is such a wrong way to go, because you should be going the other way. Like, come back, do more things that would make you relatable. And so how can you be relatable? I think oftentimes in a bid to be professional, like I said, we use terms, we position ourselves as authority, which is true, but I do believe that you can be an authority and also be really relatable. One way to do that is by using feelings that a lot of us can relate to. And one thing is for sure, regardless of who we are, where we're from, what class we're in, there's certain things that bind us as humans first. So talk about those things, talk about the feelings of fear, talk about success, the fear of failure, talk about anxiety, talk about what it means to show up and how sometimes it can be difficult to show up. I would really love more professionals to do that, because what you're doing by saying, listen, I am a human too. And that's, to be honest, one way to be relatable amongst many other ways. So really think about what binds us as humans and talk about those things that we can all relate to. I'm not saying lie, but I do believe that every single one of us have shared experiences, and all we need is a platform for all of us to say what those shared experiences are. And from those conversations, you see that we're more similar than we think. So really think about, what are my customers? How do they feel? Because we all feel pain, we all feel fear, we all feel anxiety sometimes. So how can I talk to those areas? How can I reach them with those feelings? How can I tie in my value proposition to those feelings? And how can I make them stay? Because one thing that I know for sure is, when people understand you and can relate to you, they're more likely to stay with you, and stay with you in the sense of being loyal to the brand and the business. So look at that angle when you're thinking about relatability. Another point that I would like to share is, another way to establish brand loyalty is by sharing the customer story. So more often than not, a lot of stories that are being shared are stories from the hero, like the business owner, is more my story, my story, my story. And I've talked about this many times. It's really important to also share the customer story, at least share the story of how they were before they came in contact with your service or your business or your products. How were they, and how did that product and service transform them? These are things that people want to see, especially as customers. If they see themselves in those stories, they're more likely to stay and be loyal to that brand, because they found a brand who can understand their plight, who can relate to where they're coming from and where they are in their journey. And who best to share that story than customers themselves who have gone through the transformative process? So it's really important to highlight the customer story as much as you're highlighting your story. Put a lot of emphasis on how they were and how the product or service transformed them into who they are right now, whichever level that they are in their journey. By doing that, you are also telling them, listen, other people are benefactors of this product or service. There are people who have benefited from this product or service, and you can benefit from this product or service yourself, which is speaking to potential customers, saying, listen, you can also be a benefactor of what these people have enjoyed. I believe that by doing this and including this in your strategy, you're able to have customers who are loyal to your brand, but not just that, increase revenue. Because if we're talking about the process, right? If you have return customers, you're definitely going to have increase in revenue. I mean, especially adding potential clients and all of that. But if you have that stable income where you know, okay, these are people that I'm going to be having on my retainer, these are the number of people that are going to be I'm going to be expecting income from, then you can essentially plan ways to also grow your company and grow strategies like growth strategies. I hope that this helps somebody listen today who's a business owner. But like I always say, my DMs are open. If you have questions, inquiries whatsoever, feel free to pop me a message. I'm going to be yielding the mic back to you, Mr. Obehi. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, sister. Thank you so much. That is really beautiful. That is beautifully put. There are a lot of elements there that really are at the centerpiece of what we are doing here. And, for example, just try to list out at least one or two, even though we have all already heard that we need to put the customer at the centerpiece of what we are doing. There is no need to hide behind just the glamour, behind the fancy faces, because the people are not always fancy faces. People are dealing with things. They are dealing with real life. So our stories should reflect that, because when the people can see that the story is about them, they will pay attention. They will pay attention. That is very important. It is better, it's more effective than painting a reality that is too removed from the people, because then it becomes difficult for them to connect and relate. So I think the question of relatability is really very important in the conversation of today, because you want to build brand loyalty. Why would people decide to be loyal to you? Why are they loyal to Apple? Why are they loyal to this big brand? It's not just because of the big brand, it's because those brands have been able to bring themselves to the level that the people can understand them through a delicate and well-crafted story that put human being in their face, even though this brand are really they are bigger than life, the like of Amazon. All these brands are very careful in the way they craft their story. They want the people to remember that it's about them. Therefore, the people look at this brand as their property. So that when Apple say they are releasing a new of the same phone that the people already have, even though the one they have on their hand have not spoiled yet, they will line up to use their money to pay. There's no other way you can do that than making sure that the people realize that this is about you. And of course, that is the story. Anyway, so I'm going to pass the mic to Tanya now. Tanya, the time is yours. Please share with us what is your take on today's conversation. And of course, let the people know who you are.
Hi guys. Hello. Thank you so much for making the time for being here. If you do not know who I am, I'm Tanya. I run a revenue enablement and go-to-market agency, and we work with tech-enabled businesses and tech companies to take their products to market. So definitely a great subject here today. And in order for you to understand the concept of boosting brand loyalty with storytelling, I'm actually going to tell you a quick story. I don't know if you remember in the late 2009 things and 2007 when Apple came out with its product, LG also came out with a phone. I think it's quite a trip down memory lane, but if you remember that LG had a phone, it was kind of similar to iPhones, but I don't think you see those phones anymore. LG has since become like they manufacture for other businesses, and then other businesses put their name on it. And here's why. While they were trying to copy Apple, they didn't create stories around their brand. They didn't create anything that would make people loyal to those phones. They were running with the features, the benefits of the phone, and they kept stacking those things. But people weren't buying it. And even when people would buy it, they didn't have the best experience with it. And at the end of the day, people would just leave it and go towards Samsung and Apple. Now, I've been using Huawei phones since the 2010s. And till now, till this day, I still use Huawei. Whenever Huawei comes out with a phone, I'll purchase a Huawei. That's I believe it's been over 10 years that I use Huawei. So what's the difference? Huawei had the story of being the underdog. And at the time I stopped using Huawei. But then when the whole situation was the US, for example, happened, and a lot of people rallied towards Huawei because they were the underdog. They were trying to make a name for itself, and then they were being bullied by this giant Goliath, which was a government. So that's why it's important for you as a business owner to create to create stories that create brand loyalty. What are the stories that you are telling the market around your products, your services, your brand? Because we all tell stories. If you look at Apple, Apple has leveraged storytelling from the beginning of time. If you look at Louis Vuitton, they've leveraged the story of how it was started from the beginning of time. You might not have bought a Louis Vuitton, but you might have an inkling of how it was started. Think of Chanel. Chanel is a brand for a woman who is a rebel. Where does that come from? Its story, the founder story, everything about it. So it's really important if you want your brand, if you don't want just to be a commodity, because here's the reality. You cannot beat the market at being the best only, because everybody can wake up today and create a better version of the product that you offer or the service that you offer. However, you can tag at people's heart where they feel that this is for me. I'm rallying behind this brand because this I identify with the principles on which they are built. So I'm just gonna leave it here for now, and then we can expand on that a little bit later.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Tanya. That is really important. That is important for us to understand that if we don't have our story, then we become just another rat. What is the story of another rat? In my place, which is Assam, it is said that it is the first rat that has a name. Every other rat is another rat. Okay, what does that mean? If, for example, you are relaxing in the evening, or maybe you are sleeping, or maybe you are about to sleep, maybe there is no light or something, then you see this little rat now, they move around. Okay, when I was growing up in the village, we used to have all these rats a lot of the time. Maybe that is why the adage actually is popular among us. That if you have not seen a rat throughout that evening, you will not say another rat. You will say, oh, there is a rat. That rat is the first. That is also the rule in economy called the rule number one. If you are number one, you basically dominate the market. Every other one is competing with you because you have a story that you have established. So in the case of that rat have interrupted whatever was happening. So it have gotten the attention, it have gotten the name. It maybe after a few minutes, you see a rat again, you're not going to say rat, you see another rat has come. Even if you have 10, 20, it's still going just to be another rat. So what that means is that if you don't have a specific story that defines you or separates you, that you don't have a name, you are just a commodity in the market. And like Tanya is saying, it is going to be pretty hard for you to be able to dominate that market. Except, of course, you know what? When you are a commodity, the only thing that happens is that you are racing to the bottom. That the people say, okay, they are selling for $50. You say you are going to be selling for $35 because that is how you are going to be able to make more sale. But then you are going to lose at a point, depending, of course, what strategy you are going to put in place. But if you have a story, something that connects you to the people, even when other people are selling for $50, you can sell your own for $75 or $60. People will still come to you and buy. Because they don't really buy the product. They are buying the story. They are buying the connection. They are buying what you represent. So storytelling is really fundamental here. And being able to build brand loyalty is sacrosanct in a world that is full of noise that we are living in today. All right, Mr. Eni, the mic is yours, my brother. Please go ahead.
So great shares, Hannah. Great shares, Tanya as well. And of course, great shares at Obehi. Thanks for putting a room on. You see, when I was doing my research for this topic, I always do, by the way. I always do research because I think, what can I add to the conversation? What can I find that could really help you, our audience, right? And I found an article that you wrote over here on the exact topic. I thought I'm not reading that because I don't want to say what over here is going to say, right? So I didn't read the article over here. So I have no idea. But of course, I got a feeling what you would have said, right? After the event. I'm saying I agree with Hannah, I agree with Tanya, and of course I agree with you over here. Now this is all about telling your story. You see, I think we have to think about loyalty. What does that really mean? The brand loyalty means, like you just mentioned over here, that people keep coming back to you regardless, even if it's more hassle, even if it's more expensive, even it's more time consuming. Whatever it takes, they'll come back to you because whenever they need that thing that you provide, now you're the one they've chosen because they're loyal to your brand. Of course, many others do what you do, but not quite the same way as you do you, right? You see, I think a part of this conversation is really understanding that human touch that Hannah mentioned. You see, as a brand, I haven't told you who I am because I'll tell you in a long about way. I've mentioned one of the things I do. I said Dr. Marcia, and I've written a book, so that's one of the things I do. So we help people to write their books, right? So, but my point is more this, my friend. I think we have to be brave enough to design a brand, with the narrative that we want to put on it. I can hear you say, "What's the narrative?" Dr. Marcia, for example. Now she works, from a Christian perspective. That is a brand identity that will breed loyalty if you want and appreciate and value a Christian perspective, right? So all the big brands that you've mentioned, again, you mentioned Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Apple. So all these big brands, they have a unique identity. They convey what they believe. That's probably the word for it, right? What they truly believe. And then you realize that what they're conveying is not just a belief, it's a way of being. And that, my friend, is what people buy into. Loyalty comes from people buying into your story. Now, Apple, we know Apple is all about innovation, right? Apple promises us that we're going to have the best, newest, and the most high tech equipment, whether it's phone, as Tanya talked about, or there is the iMac or any other device that they make. Now, so that's what gets people coming back to Apple because they want to look cool. They want to look like they want to look like high tech, basically. Like Coca Cola, their story is young and successful. Whether you're sporting or not, they want. That's what all young people with splash of water somewhere, whether it's raining, whether it's a hose, but literally they're drinking Coke after a good day's work. I don't know how that. I don't know if you think about it. When you see the advert again, you think that looks a bit odd, but that is a story, right? And that's what they do. What's your story? You see, in this day and age, it's not enough to just say, right, here's my story. See, for my business at Global Media, yes, we'll make you famous. Yes, we do marketing. Yes, we do audio rooms. Yes, we do books. So but here's the thing I've designed and that I want everyone to know. This is my story, my friend. You see, wherever I look, everyone's using technology, AI. It drives me crazy. You see, when I talk to my clients, I tell them straight, I want people to get to know who you are, your unique skills, your unique identity. Dare to tell us what it is. See, for me, I would not use AI unless it's for repetitive tasks. Now, and in my business, the humans will always control the technology. Now, so everything I do is done by humans. That's just my design. That's the way I design my business. That's my unique identity. Now, everyone here can design their own unique identity. You see, then what happens when it comes to loyalty is that you're asking your customers to buy into that identity. You're asking them to want to be part of your story. They're asking them to be part of wanting that they have to be part of wanting to write the next chapter in your story. And you truly understand, but no, maybe not ask them, but you truly understand what's important to them. Some customers want sustainability. Some customers want gender equality. So some want many other things, right? Fairness to employees. So again, there's so many different values that we can have that our customers value. They find important. When you know what that value is, my friends, design your business and talk about those things. Make your customers want to join your story, want to be part of the story. That's what this conversation is really about. When you get your customers truly buying into your story, when your story is about them, as you say, Obehi, that's when they keep coming back to you, no matter what the rest of the market offers. Let me stop talking for now. So let's hear from our other speakers, and then
All what you say, I'm noting down key points. They are important because, of course, this is the sharing. And like we were just saying before we started to roll, the importance of the time that we're also living in today is that we are able to keep a record of our conversation. So I was interviewing a guest a couple of days ago. Of course, the interview actually came out today. In the course of the conversation, he did a kind of experiment on me because, okay, he is an expert on business leadership. Then on the question that I asked him relating to how to identify your core value or your core principle, why you are in business, why you are doing what you are doing, he did an experiment with me, asking me a series of questions, which of course, both of us, we really enjoyed a lot. In that, at the end of the day, we're going to look for a way to better connect to the people at the human level. It is more important there. It is more advantageous for us. That is something I sort of I'm really comfortable debating all the time. That nobody can win you about you, except you do not know who you are. If you know your story, no other person can be a better expert in that story because that is your story. That is who you represent. Any day, anytime somebody stand up against you, you can win because it is your story. I am trying to say that if we leverage our story, we are at our vantage point. We are able to win that debate. We are able to win that battle because any other person that is coming is the second rat. It's not the main rat. We are the main rat. We are the one shaping the narrative. It is important for us, particularly in the world of today, where creativity should be the order of the day. Because now that AI is sort of leveling the game, it was very difficult for us to be able to create a content that you will spend a lot of time to do, whether you are talking of video or talking of editing your audio or creating text. All this work have become easier these days. By that I mean it has become zero. If that is where you are starting from now, that cannot also be where you are going to end. What does those things put together, how did they differentiate you instead of just be another rat? I think that is where creativity come in. The other day, I had a very important interview with a professor in this area, and we talked about creativity, the power of creativity in our demography also. So this is particularly important that we learn how to use the tools of the age to tell our story. It is our story that we need to tell, and that story is really, really powerful. If we don't tell that story, we will just be a commodity in the market, and there is no way we can win that battle. All right, now I have a question for Hannah. I think Israel is having a little bit of challenge, but I think you might be able to sort it and come back again. All right, for Hannah, this is the question. Now, people sort of have, they understand the idea that, okay, it is important to do this, but they don't yet know how to. So your suggestion, how do you develop brand loyalty and brand association in your story? Please share with us.
Thank you so much for that question, Mr. Obehi. So I would be recommending two things that not only have I used and I know work for a fact. So the first thing that I'll be recommending for anyone who is interested in building that brand loyalty and getting that brand loyalty from customers, focus on the customer experience. And I'm like I said, this is something that I use when I work with clients. How do you make them feel? It's really important as a brand, as a business, to focus on how your customer feels from point A to point B, from when they contact you to when they have purchased the item, or when they're no longer using the service, or they don't need the service at the moment. My point is, work on how you make them feel. So do they feel like they're appreciated? A lot of companies work on the staff that welcome them in, the people that do the greetings. How do they feel? Do you make them feel special? Do you make them feel like they're welcomed? Aside to that, if you're dealing with services, how do you work with your clients? Is it a really hands-on experience, or is it something that you do um, like from afar, or do you encourage the meetings? Like, for instance, when I work with clients, I encourage the check-ins. So we have 2 check-ins in a week where they can ask questions, and they also have my number most of the time, where they can ask me questions that may arise. These are the ways that I'm able to make the customer experience seamless, aside that they know that they're not just getting the service, like, because most of them pay for like personal branding on LinkedIn. It's not just personal branding. I'm working with them to help them say, listen, you can do it. So sometimes I'm like, I also double as like a therapist, but it's okay. It's part of the process, isn't it? It's what differentiates me from the next person. I know a lot of people who work with clients, and it's sort of like a distant relationship. I know that it's easy to manage that right now because I'm still a small business, but I know a lot of big businesses might have that challenge. So the best way to do that is to put systems in place that can give the customers a feeling of appreciation and a feeling of I'm with you along the way. And that might be from the email list and how you send the emails. So if you want to do maybe emails once a month, or maybe emails twice a month. I know a lot of companies that do emails every day of the week. I'm not going to encourage you to do that, but just have something in place that makes the customers feel like they are appreciated and they're heard. Also, when you're looking at the customer experience, how can they reach you back if they have issues? Have you established the system where they can essentially meet you and reach you with problems or inquiries, and how quick do they get that response? So you're looking at response time, you're looking at um the perks that might come, like bonuses, discounts, are they the first to hear, and the quality of the product and service, because that's another important part of the customer experience. Are you delivering on quality? Are you just talking, or are you actually walking the talk? Are you actually giving the customers quality for their pay, for what they're paying for? Another thing that I would add that adds to brand loyalty is consistency. And a lot of the times it's touch and go for a lot of businesses, and that's the problem. You need to consistently deliver on quality. I already touched on that with the customer experience, but it's so important to deliver on consistently deliver on quality. So you're not just delivering on quality the one time. They know that when they come to this brand, when they work with you, they're gonna get this quality. And this is it. A lot of companies start with a high quality, right? And then along the line, things happen and it dwindles. And that's the quickest way to lose customers. That's the quickest way to discourage brand loyalty. But if you want to encourage brand loyalty, let your customers know, even potential customers, because it's a ripple effect. These customers that you have then go ahead through word of mouth, through recommendations to their friends, to their families, to say, listen, I know this brand that delivers on XYZ. I know that because I've worked with them. And each time I've worked with them or bought something from them, I know that I've gotten the quality that I've paid for. So these elements, I believe, fosters brand loyalty. But above all, as a business, you want to look at the quality. You want to look at what your the value that you say that you're proposing and the value that you're actually proposing. So with products, you're looking at the packaging, you're looking at the consistency of the products. Is it of quality? That's a really important point that I want to put out today. As I always say, listen, my DMs are open if you have questions. But I hope that that answers the question, Mr. B.
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you so much for that. That would be really important thing to pay attention to as we consider some of these dynamics in being able to boost our brand loyalty and increase revenue with storytelling. Because that is why we are using That is why we are using storytelling anyway, because we want to better connect to the audience. But why are we connected to the audience? It's because we want to serve them better. And of course, when we do a good service to the people, there is a good return on investment for what we are doing too. Otherwise, now it will be like we are just because you can also serve people without being paid for that, but you cannot call that business. But what we are talking about today is business. Either you are rendering a service to the people and you are being paid for that service. So, of course, you can render more service, you can better serve them and serve other people like them too. So, it is important that we pay attention to these tips that the experts are sharing with us today. I think they are important. They are important. All right, I pass the mic to Joan. Joan, please share with us. The topic is boost your brand loyalty and increase revenue with storytelling. What says you?
I have been in sales for a long time, and I apologize. I've had sort of a hard week, and Annie knows about that. But hello to everyone I've met before, and it makes me feel good just talking in these groups. So yay! And so for instance, I worked in construction sales for many years, big projects. But I'm going to relate a storytelling experience that anyone can put towards selling their product. And I'm going to use something smaller, like let's say you're selling blinds for your windows, which a lot of people do. They can do door to door, whatever. It's kind of a entry level sales career. But, if someone comes in and is like, look, do you ever get that annoying problem where the blinds go like bleh, like 45 degrees vertical, and then one of the little strings snap? How does that make you feel? Is that a frustrating feeling, or you feel like you can fix it? Because there's no fixing that. There is. I've tried, and I was like, thinking, well, what if there is a different type of nylon fabric that is indestructible? And this is what I'm selling. And so I'm like, okay, so when your kid hangs on them and tries to pull their shades up, and it won't snap. And also there is child safety measures in place if you do have little kids. So me just trying to connect off the bat with a little story. That's what I did in big sales, little sales, no matter what. It really does help. And another one, okay, so I'm a huge gardener, and I'm like selling at a gardening center, let's say. Our flowers were planted here in Illinois. They are well rooted. They are not forced in greenhouses. They are not fed all these nutrients. So, guaranteed, our flowers, while they may not look as bright and colorful as some of the Home Depot or Lowe's, whatnot, these are going to last, because I know the feeling of having flowers you bring home that you spend what, $50 on, and then bleh, by like 2 weeks. And so um those are just like a tidbit of, you say what is differentiating your business with a little story, and then you can go into, obviously, like, what are your concerns, what are your target market regions, like what are you trying to do financially with this company, what growth factor do you see, when is your typical annual planning. um but yeah, I always took a lot of quick notes before any sales meeting about some little story where I could highlight my business, and then they would be kind of caught on, and then we would go from there really about questions about their business, and I would shut up. And so that's it.
Thank you so much for that. That tool is highly valuable. I like the idea that you need to sort of put down a note before you go into your sales meeting. That you have something that is guiding you now. You are not just shooting out in the air, no? that is beautiful. Because we need to pay attention to the people, their story, their reality, know what their key value is. And I think that is also going back to what someone was saying before. So I mean, we agree here. We are moving towards the same direction. That is important. Thank you so much for sharing, Joanna. I appreciate that. I move to Roshan. Roshan, please share with us on the topic of today remains boost your brand loyalty and increase revenue with storytelling. Please go.
Thank you, Obehi. I would just like to share my experience in terms of how storytelling actually augured well for my business. Firstly, I have a slightly different perspective from what is actually stated here. I never ever engaged in storytelling with the objective of increasing revenue. The only reason I engaged in storytelling is because we as human beings relate to the experiences that others in similar situations have experienced. In other words, in simpler words, we tend to find our answers through somebody else's struggles because his experience is actually a direct answer to the problem that I'm grappling with today. So I engage in storytelling only so people may find answers and solutions to their problems. I never engaged in storytelling with the objective of enhancing income or getting greater revenue or doing so with any other hidden agenda. Now, when I do this, when I'm focused on people's welfare, eventually they get to know that here is a company or an individual or a person who is genuinely interested in solving their problems. So the rest of it happens almost automatically. I'm not concerned about it. I'm only concerned about people, their welfare, and their betterment. The revenue comes by default. I don't even have to bother about that. So I would encourage us to do the right thing for the right reason. Somebody said the greatest treason is committed when we do the right thing for the wrong reason. It's absolutely fine to engage in storytelling for the sake of increasing revenue, etc. That's your call. I have no say in the matter. That's your prerogative. But personally speaking, this is how it worked with me. So that is all I wanted to share with you. That's my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Roshan. We appreciate you. We appreciate also your point of view. That is vitally important because in life, we need to also be able to understand that our viewpoint is not the only viewpoint. Our way of seeing things is not the only way to see things. In fact, we're actually able to grow when we are able to accommodate other opinions that might slightly be different from ours. But at the end of the day, they are not really different because if I understand you perfectly now, you don't necessarily go there with the intention of selling. You just want to share to help. That is a good thing. That is really good.
Absolutely.
Sometimes here we have said a number of times that there is a good distinction between storytelling and business storytelling, or storytelling that you tell for entertainment and storytelling that you tell before in sales, for example. They are storytelling, but they are not the same type of storytelling. You see, if I were to meet a person, a friend or somebody, maybe in a bus stop or whatever, and it happened that our time meet, we freeze in that moment and we engage in a conversation, I don't necessarily need to have what we often refer to in these conversations as KPI, which is the key performance indicator. But in a business storytelling, we need to have those things because if we don't have them, then we're not able to measure the effectiveness of our story. Okay, it might sound rather selfish, but it is true. In storytelling for business, we always have the agenda. We never go into just sharing without an agenda. Okay, this agenda might be different in different occasion. I repeat, there is no one way to do storytelling. But as far as business storytelling is concerned, there must be a way to measure whether it is effective or not. Maybe effective for one person might be, okay, I want to get more people to follow me. Well, that is okay. But at least you have the KPI to be able to measure that. Maybe for another person, it might be to be able to say to these people who are interested in what you are offering. But we are using storytelling to be able to make the connection. So we can't say that is not correct because the other person is not like the first one whose always interest is to gather more audience. Both of them are correct. And being correct is something that we also need to define. All right, so thank you again. I appreciate that. I want to move the mic to Dr. Marcia. Dr. Marcia, please share with us.
Good morning, everyone. I am happy to share in this discussion. I heard what everyone has said, and I agree with many of the points. I think I want to look at Roshan, if I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, because excuse me, want to look at storytelling and how it boosts brand loyalty and increase revenue in a slightly different way. First of all, I believe that your story is written for you. You might not pick your story up at the start of your life. You might not understand your story, but your experiences drive you if you pay attention to what will become your passion, and it will develop your story to make your brand and your business take shape. When you understand your storyline and when you follow the experiences, the setback, the challenges of your life and how they propel you to where you ought to be and into your divine calling and mission, you must, there is no doubt, you will generate brand loyalty and increase because, first of all, you know your story, you accept your story, you love your story, and you find purpose in your story. And this delivery carries with it an emotional charge that propels people to be very cognizant of your presence in business because your business becomes your mission. And your mission becomes that point where you actually serve authentically. And in exchange, persons pay you for the services and the solutions that you provide because you're coming from a place of knowing and your business is resonating with those persons who you were destined to serve and to help. And they become apostles to bring in the other persons who you must serve and you must help. And so I believe that your story, in fact, is one of the crucial things that brings revenue and keep increasing revenue. The problem we have is that we sometimes in generating our business believe that someone else's story is my story, or we want a similar story as John's story, or we want to do something similar to what John is doing. And I'm not saying you cannot sell light bulbs, but if light bulbs was never your mission and your calling and was never a part of your story, then you cannot successfully increase revenue from selling light bulbs. But if it is that you were to create original and unique light bulbs, then your revenue will increase. You're still in the light bulb business, but you're not imitating John's business. And if you bring John's business into light, it becomes John's business and it's not your business. And so you must understand and see the hidden parts of your story and you must bring them to light in your business and that will increase your revenue. The other point I want to make very briefly as it relates to story. Sometimes we do not understand our story until we are on the outside looking in. What do I mean? You reach a crisis point where you have nothing left but just your story. And that story opens the doors of opportunity that you were knocking on, but that you were pulling instead of pushing. So you were pulling it instead of pushing it because you were too comfortable. You had a support group, you had a network. But when you are left alone with your story and you're able to reflect on your story, learn the lessons from your story, and appreciate your story becomes the propeller, the wings, and the wind on the door for you to start your brand, acquire the loyalty by being consistent and persistent, and increasing your revenue by serving others with your story and not using your story to serve yourself. Thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Matzia. That is really powerful. That is powerful. Uh, that is powerful. We are here to serve. That is, nobody can ever misunderstand that, because if we are not serving, then we are stealing, in the sense that if you are not here because you are providing a solution to the people, then you are not qualified to be in the marketplace. Because of course, the marketplace now is going to determine how much you are going to be paid, because you are rendering a service. That is fundamentally important. There was a question actually I was posing to you, Annie. I don't know if you could respond to that before I pass the mic on to other people in the room, because otherwise we are going to be holding you hostage here.
Of course. Look, Monica, I see you. Welcome. Amazing therapist and therapist founder as well. Therapy service founder as well. Gloria, welcome. We heard from you, Jason. Thank you so much. Keith, we see you. Ebuka, thanks for joining us. Cheryl, great to have you here as always. Mary, I see you. Welcome. So Kelly, amazing author. Abimbola, how you doing? Glad you're here. Chitachi, I see you. Miss Kim, the legend, Miss Kim. Glad you're here. So of course, Alabimpe, a true cybersecurity genius. Glad you're here as well, my sister. And Lillian, great to see you as always. And that's amazing shares by everyone. So now, of course, we're learning. So Obehi's question was, how do you apply all of these that we're talking about today if you're a startup? How do you create that storytelling that builds that brand loyalty if you're just starting out today? Of course, I can see how it can be daunting. And I will say, Hannah, I totally agree with you. Hannah made a point earlier that as marketers, as storytelling strategists, as storytellers for businesses, we do end up being people's therapists sometimes. Therapist, mindset coach, counselor, call it what you like, motivator, because there's so much into storytelling that people don't do naturally. So we sort of have to guide them through with all our energy, all our knowledge to make them understand the points. Let me try and break the points down. So if you're just starting out in business, so all the things we talked about so far, they all count, right? So of course, at the heart of this is telling authentic stories. Tell stories that are true of who you are. I can't say that enough. We see people who tell stories about who they think they are, and then when in the cold light of day, they just don't deliver. It's not true. There's no quicker way to lose almost dishonest. People don't sort of forgive that. So make sure your storytelling, that you create stories that are true to you and to your business. When I say I have a personal touch in my business, I mean a personal touch. That's why I can tell you what many people in this room do, because I meet everyone. So I'm always amazed how people on LinkedIn, they struggle, and I try and tell them the simple answer is be a nice person. Just be the nice person that you are. But somehow they struggle. They struggle to be genuinely nice people. I don't understand. Yeah, I really don't. I'm saying, be who you are, which is a nice person who wants to help people, right? What it appears, that's a human challenge that people struggle with. So when it comes to your startup, my friends, storytelling goes back to the very beginning, your business plan. It goes back to your mission, and your purpose. Why are you in business? What are you here for? What's the problem you want to solve for your clients? And then so I might add another question to all of that. How do you do what you do? What's your unique way? You see, now you know who you are, why you do what you do, and how you do what you do. Okay, that's part one. The second part, which is most crucial, Dr. Marcia mentioned some of these, which has shared just now. You must understand your ideal clients, your target audience. So I was talking to someone yesterday, and I said to her, "All right, what you're saying is far too general. It's too black. To whom? When? For what problems?" She's like, "Well, I don't want to narrow it down because I think people wouldn't get it." I'm like, I think you missed the point of storytelling in this case, and branding as a whole. I'm saying, right, if you're talking to the right people, they'll understand when you speak their language. So learn and understand your customer's language. By that I mean, what's important to them? What do they value? Do they value the personal touch? Do they value innovation? Do they value sustainability? Do they value speed? Do they value, like this Marcia service, her Christian approach? Do they value something else? If you must understand your customer's language. I'm not talking in a vacuum, my friends. You see, when I got on LinkedIn 10 years ago, right? I used to tell everyone I do marketing, I do social media, I do websites, I do blah blah blah, right? I do all those things. I still do all those things now, right? But only through audio rooms did that sort of figure suddenly realize I was not speaking my client's language. See, in reality, my clients want a transformation of the business, total transformation. Of course, they want marketing, but they don't want marketing. They want their business to be transformed into a successful company. Which is why now you hear me say, I make you famous. A total transformation of people I work with. I literally take people from what they do to being well known, and that's what all my clients want. Even if those words don't make sense to you, I break it down into what that means in terms of how I really make you famous, which sustains. I tell you, everyone knows that's a truly, that's a legacy project for anyone. It's legacy branding because when you have a book, it's going to outlive all of us, and it's going to make you an authority in your field for years to come. Audio rooms like this, they work because if I get you in front of 30, 40, 50 people at once, they get to know you. Do that 10 times. How many people have you met who actually know who you are? Do that. Now, that's over here that I've done for years now, for nearly a year and a bit now. We've met thousands of people. For our clients, that works, right? I'm saying to you, truly, now find a way that you transform people's lives. When you can combine your vision, your approach with what your customers want, and in their words, now you can craft a story that's going to resonate with them. But at the heart of all of this, my friends, is embody what you say you do. Be that person who does what you say you do. Please don't pretend. Don't just say it for the sake of it because it sounds good. Actually, be that person. When you do that, you find that your startup will grow much quicker than my startup grew. Obehi, I'll give the mic back to you, my friend.
Thank you so much for that, Denny. Thank you so much for that. Authenticity. Who did say something like that before? I think that was Hannah before. That we need to be real when we are talking or when we are communicating, using the power of storytelling, because storytelling is powerful, but only when it is applied correctly. Permit me to say also strategically. It is not just to be thrown out there. You see, if you are in the sea, and okay, now let me not use the sea because you can't really drink the water of the sea, But say maybe you are in a river, because at least you can drink the water of the river. You can't really market to the person in the river to drink water or maybe to buy your water because the person already have everything there. So everything really is around us, but sometimes we are not able to see that until somebody is able to stop us and get us to focus. Storytelling helps us to do this. It helps us to filter out everything around and know what we are supposed to focus on. That is the person conducting the navigation, the journey. They also have what they call the customer journey. Either you tell them where you are coming from. After that, you move to the next one. After that, you move to the next one. After that, you move to the next one. As you are telling the story, the person is just following you until you get to the point that he or she is going to make a decision or know what to do. If you tell a good story, people will listen. I can be very sure of this. So storytelling is really powerful. It's what we are using to be able to attract the right audience and to retain them. You see, this audio room, for example, is not for everybody. It's only for people who are interested in this specific conversation. You see, nobody here was actually bribed to be here. There is nobody here that would promise to come and take money that make the person to be here. We just simply say, we are going to do this. And every of us is busy. We are all busy. I know, particularly if you are in business, you are busy. If you spend the time that you're supposed to be doing other things for this one, it means you care about what is happening here. This is the story. This is what we are talking about today. Because nobody really bribed you to be here. You find value in it. That is why you are here. What if we could be doing this more to sort of attract the right audience and retain them so we can serve them? I think it is in line with the conversation. The brand loyalty and the increase of revenue will follow. It will become automatic. Romy, please go ahead and share with us. The topic is boost brand loyalty and increase revenue with storytelling. What is your take?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. And I just want to go straight to the point. I love talking about storytelling because I have a brand, GRU. I don't sell hoodies. I don't sell cups. I don't sell bags. I sell to people their better version. I sell to people their better version. I share my story. So when you want to sell your story, you have to be authentic, like it has been said. But how do you make it authentic? You have to engage emotions. You have to engage events. You have to make people feel something. You have to make people feel something. Make them happy, make them sad, maybe make them excited. Any emotion is going to work. Be consistent with your story. You have to be consistent. If you're telling your story today, tomorrow, let the story be the same. But the strategy might change. How you tell your story. We learn every day on how we tell our stories. The first day I came on LinkedIn to share my story on Mr. Ennis platform, it has changed in the way I approach my story. I tell my story every day. I tell it every day. Then I get to learn the better way of telling my story. I learned a better way of helping people engage with my story. So the story doesn't change. The strategy in which you tell your story have to change because you want to be able to connect with your audience at a deeper level. You want to be able to really identify who this story is touching. You want to be able to identify who is buying your story. So you have to stop selling and you start educating. You're educating with your story. Show the values of your stories. Share the challenges you face. Your story is like a movie. When you're watching a movie, there are moments you get to be excited. There are moments you get to you feel emotions, like you get to laugh. There are funny moments. There are exciting moments. There's moments you get to dance because of the movie you're watching. That is a story. Get people wanting more because you get to tell them you faced this and do you know what? I had to achieve this and do you know what? And this is what I've been able to engrave from my story. Tell them the lessons you've learned throughout your story and what you've come out with. Throughout my story, my brand came out. My brand came as a form of a gift from my trauma. My brand, I didn't prepare to create a brand. I didn't prepare. But when I was facing trauma, I wanted to look for something. I wanted to look for something I would gain out of this trauma. So you have to be able to take advantage of the disadvantages. So when you're taking advantage of the disadvantages in your life, you create a story. And this story is a product you're going to sell to people. Now I discovered the road to leading, the road that is leading me to my better version, that is embracing creativity. So I'm selling to people their better version. If you're going out there to the gym, you want to get you want to have your better version. If you're going to school, you want to have your better version. You're here listening to people because you want to have your better version. That is what I'm selling. And that is how my story sells. Engage with your audience. You have to be able to understand if they are engaging with your story. You have to be able to get feedbacks from your story. When you share your story, ask them, how do you feel about my story? How you feel? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Romy. You see, there is a power there, apart from the fact that you actually know how to also convey your emotion. The magic is actually that, the emotion. A couple of the years ago, actually, I think I've shared this story before a couple of times. I was interviewing a visual artist in Canada, and I have worked in a very popular films, including Transformer, the Jurassic Park, and the rest of them. They create the sound effect that we hear. So I was telling him, I say, okay, now, you and I know that those things that we hear in the movie, maybe if you have watched Transformer or the Jurassic Park, you see that you were literally moving to the edge of the seat. It happened to all of us. You don't need to be a child to know that, to feel that. We all know, you and I know that it is not true when we go to the movie, but yet we still move to the edge of the seat. What is happening to us? That is the power of emotion. Roman is saying, it doesn't matter whether you are making them cry or you are making them laugh. Just make them feel something. That is what the people are really looking for. That is why they are going to the cinema. They are not stupid. People are not stupid by going to the movie. They know that what they are going to see is not real, but they want to feel it. They want to feel something. That is what storytelling helps us to do. Of course, we are not necessarily going to be lied to the people, but there is this delicate balance in our communication, which is when you touch a certain way in how we behave, we will respond in the way that we're supposed to respond. It's an advanced way of our human behavior. There is a lot of psychology into it, but it works. It works almost all the time. That is why you see now that the policeman that is doing investigation, even though they are dealing with a hardened criminal, they still employ the element of storytelling. Because they don't just come and whip you and say, hey, tell me. No, that is not how it works. You see, one of them, the police, the way they set it up sometimes, you see the bad cops and the good cops. You see the bad one is kicking against you, but the other one is petting you. It will be arranged like this. They are working together. They are working together for the same objective. Whoever you are going to play to the game. So to our audience, or how to boost our audience loyalty, we're going to play to the line that they are, in the platform that they are, in the senses and sensibility that matters to them. I think Eddie already have expanded on this a lot. So I think this is important. And Romy, you have added another beautiful things to it, that we need to make the people feel something. It is important. I think it's Maya Angelou that says that the people will forget what you have said, but they will never forget how you make them feel. Do I want to repeat that again? Now, the people will forget what you have said, but they will never forget how you make them feel. Do you remember those stories you used to listen to when you were a kid? I grew up as a child in Uromi. I still remember the story I was told. I am less than 5 years old. Those stories that was shared to me, like the story of Odudu. Do you know what is called Odudu? Odudu in my language means monster, if it were to be translated in English language. And it's present all in our narratives. How the monster will come and probably come to beat you in the night if you misbehave. I am less than 4 years old that this story were told to me. I can still feel it. So it is important that we make people feel something in the story.
Thanks, Obehi, for having me. And it's a pleasure to be here again after a very long time. Any thanks for the invite. I'm glad I I'm glad I honored this one. I know I've had several of your invites, but it's been very hectic at work lately. It's not. I never take any of those invites for granted. So I have a little bit of space this afternoon, so I'm glad I'm here again. Well done. My contribution will be very little, and I would like to ask a question. And I acknowledge you, Izu, Samuel. Izu, for whoever does not know in the room, Izu is one of my mentors. I'm so proud of him. Thank you very much for all you do. Yes, somebody is giving us love emoji there because we know where we meet outside here. Yeah. So, yes. Thank you, friends. Thanks for the emoji. I appreciate it. So talking about storytelling, I think it is good for us to realize that for me, almost every time we open our mouth, we tell a story. That's how I see it. I'm not seeing storytelling as only when you are talking about something that has happened or something that could happen. Some of us might feel, oh, when I tell people about what I've gone through or how my brand works or things like that is, I think everything about us is about storytelling. And that's why for me, I feel maintaining integrity when we use the gift of speech is very essential. When it's part of our culture, personal culture, to say the truth when we are talking, then it wouldn't be very difficult for us to say the truth about our brand. This could be personal brand, it could be other brands. Brand is brand to me. There was an experience lately of a young man. I mean, this is not verified, but that was what he said, because I have a WhatsApp community that I've been encouraging to come to LinkedIn and make their money on LinkedIn, but they feel guys on LinkedIn exaggerate their experience, exaggerate stuff, that people don't tell it the way it is. And well, I know that happens on almost every platform. So, but I feel as professionals, for those of us in the room, it's good to think about our credibility when we talk. Like one of the guys was saying in that community, that there was an experience about a guy that put in his profile, his LinkedIn profile, that he occupies a role in a particular company. Coincidentally, this company happened to be his baby brother's company, and they don't know this guy. So the attention of the baby brother was called to it, that, oh, is this guy one of your staff members? And he's like, I don't know him. But now he's claiming that he works with you. Then he approached him and blah, 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 blah. The story is, oh, I'm sorry, I just need to get myself out there and things like that. And I was like, why on earth will you do that? Why? So for me, it tells on his credibility. And that is what happens when we open our mouths. When we are with, most especially adults, even kids nowadays are so smart. People are not stupid. People can verify what we are saying. They can go behind us and check, is it true? So whether we are saying something that has happened, or we are saying what we can do, like Annie said, or we are saying anything about, for me, your LinkedIn profile is like a story, because people go there and they use that profile to know some things about you. For me, you are silently telling a story of who you are with your profile. So I will say, I will support others in the room that talks about keeping our integrity when it comes to storytelling. When we tell stories that are fictitious, it's good to let our audience know that this is not real. I'm just making up this so that you can understand, or we present it in such a way that people will know that, see, like you said, Obehi, people go to the cinema, they know that they are going to watch a movie. They know it's not a true to life story. And they still go, they pay for it. So if we let our audience know that, see, this thing has not really happened to anybody, I think it will be fair on our audience. So that would be my contribution. But my question will be this. When we tell stories, most especially I've seen people tell stories about others on social media. And, they will just come out and they say things about individuals in the society. Maybe somebody did something and they call them out. So I would like to know, what role does the law play? Now I'm talking about the legal aspect when it comes to the legal aspect of life as it impacts on storytelling. I don't know if it makes sense. Let me use you as okay, you did something, you're a public figure, you did something, and I know about that thing, and I come to the open, it's part of my brand to tell what others do, and I begin to analyze you, what you did wrong, what you did right. I mean, legally, how far is too far? I don't know if you get me.
No. It's clear. It's clear. And it's a very interesting conversation. This one that you have opened, actually, it can open a Pandora for us to explore. And it can really be a very long conversation. But it's an interesting one that can be explored. Because, okay, let me say a few things. And then, of course, I can also ask, anyway, time is about be spent. So as we're moving towards the end of the, in that, for example, there are different people that can be in public position whose life the people want to be able to better examine. So in this sense, now maybe like the public figures, the life that they live, there is a very fine line that separates what is their private to what is their public life. So to this individual, I think the society permit that people should put more of them in the open so that they can be examined. The reason for this is that if their life are not examined, then we are not able to see what they do. And because they are supposed to be transparent almost, because they are representing the people, everybody is putting their self in there to run, like in the case of a president or things like that. So their life is not private anymore. So for example, a president, a Nigerian president coming to Kano to make a statement, you can't really say whether it is legal or not legal to republish what he have said or restate what he have said, because he didn't literally say anywhere you are free to use this. I think in the United States, for example, anything that is created by the government or people working for the government are actually considered public domain property, that anybody can take up those information and reuse it. But of course, reuse it now is that when you take those information, you are free to use it. But to how you use it, you can be liable for maybe infringing on their right, because if you use that information to denigrate the image of the person that you are talking about, that is going to be considered as an offense. Just because you are allowed to use the information freely doesn't mean that you are going to disrespect the information itself. Because now you need to protect also the law that is allowing you to be able to operate. Now, that would be for a public figure, but there are also a private individual. Say maybe, for example, you are living in a house. Maybe this is going to happen mostly in cities like Lagos or Johannesburg or maybe in Washington. You are living in a place where the building is very tall. You are from your house able to see what is happening in another house. Maybe you see something. What you see actually puts you in a very fine line. Are you going to talk about what you have seen just because you see that? For example, if you see a murder case, okay, the law said that you should report what you have seen. But what if what you see is not related to a threat of life? Say maybe, for example, you see a woman that is nude, then you go to take a picture of that. Maybe with your telescope, you take a picture of that, and because the person was in the public in his own domain, then you go and put it outside because you have seen that. I think the law is not going to permit that. But if maybe, for example, in the same place where you are, you see a man strangling a woman to death, now you are obliged to report that, and of course, it puts you in a situation.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Obehi. I wouldn't say I have really much to say, but I would say that we have had great conversations here today. And I'm so happy that our conversations here today are bordered around originality and people being authentic to their stories and what they stand for. And I just wanted to quickly say hello to all the beautiful people in the house, Mr. Eni, Hannah, the amazing Olabide, and I see you, Cheryl, so you just seen Abimbola, Monica, I see you, Lillian, Farah, Romy, Lady, Lulu, and Derek, and all the beautiful people right here. If I didn't mention your name, I'm so sorry. But I think if you are ever going to boost your brand loyalty and increase revenue with storytelling, you should never tell a story that, when verified, does not represent truth, value, and communicate respect about what you stand for. Many times, we gain traction by telling fantastic stories, but we lose everything when people realizes that everything you said and all the stories you told were never in consonant with the reality of what you stand for. So my way of saying, never you open your mouth to say something you can never defend. I think that the principles that drives effective storytelling can be traced to the reality of measuring what you say and how sure what you say is. My name is Izu Samuel, and I believe that brand storytelling is even more powerful when the story can be traced and when the story is truth. And when the story is truthful, nobody in this world who would want to buy from you. When the story is not real, every beautiful person who got connected to you will surely disassociate themselves from you. That would be my little piece of advice and addition to this fantastic conversation. But for me, I would say that it's been a great time, it's been a great day, and I'd like to say kudos to you, Mr. Obehi, for being so consistent. You've been consistent, and I think people should learn consistency from you, and that is a lot to say. Thank you so much. I will just yield the mic over to you, Mr. Obehi, and to say thanks once again for having me on your platform. I don't take it for granted. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. All right, Hannah, what will be your final take here? We have come to the end of today's conversation. Please leave the people with your final statement.
Thank you for having me and for having all of us. My final share would be that as a business owner, it's so important for you to find something that you deliver uniquely to help with brand loyalty. So something that your competitors don't have or aren't doing. So look at the gap in the market. What are the things that they're missing? Is it in the customer experience? Is it in the offers that they're giving? Is it in the little gifts that show sentiment, that show that they are cared for? And find those things and use that to sort of create a niche for yourself in the market where you are the only one doing that extra thing. So it's not just you're doing the regular business part, which might be, for instance, you own a restaurant, it's not just cooking, you're doing something else. Maybe the ambience is different, maybe the kind of music that is being played is different. Whatever that it is, find that and have that as a strategy to improve upon brand loyalty, because all of these things tying together to let people feel special and remember you, memorability, which is a big part of brand loyalty, and also the building that connection that goes beyond just delivering service, but them wanting to have the replication of that feeling that they got when they were, whether in your establishment or speaking with you or working with you. So find that as a business owner, find those things that make you unique. With that said, my name is Hannah Dachaba, and my DMs are always open for questions, inquiries, whatsoever. Pop me a message and I'll be sure to respond. Thank you so much once again, Mr. Behi, for your time, and thank you for having me here. I do not take it for granted as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sister. We appreciate you. We appreciate your valuable contribution here, and always we do. Thank you so much for that. All right, Annie, what would be your final thought to conclude the conversation?
I love our amazing audio room, Miss Obehi. Well done, you. And all our great speakers. Martha, I see you. Welcome. Buluwatiwi, always great to have you in our rooms. Derek, great to see you, my friend. Peter, I see you too. Now, to answer your question, Olabimpe, I don't think you can sue me for telling a story that's not true. No, that's a sad reality. But no, I think the court of customers would judge you harshly. They would sue you and find someone guilty who's disingenuous, who's not aligned with the story, who told you they can do something they can't do. For example, it's only when I give you an agreement, a contract of working with you, that you can say, right, here's what you said you could do, and then here's what you actually couldn't do, or here's what you didn't do. Hopefully that answers your question. But I'm no lawyer, so we'll try. That's my best advice. I'm saying, get legal advice on that one, my friend. If someone cons you, do something about it. Don't let them get away with it. Now, in terms of our point today, my friends, I think storytelling is also about building brand loyalty, right? Isa has mentioned the authenticity part of the conversation. I think that Hannah's mentioned also, the fact that this is partly about us and our unique ways of doing things. Passionate about that you can live by. I always use the term embodiment. In other words, you live by what you say. You literally embody every word that you say. That you say you are, you think, you do. So let's learn to design our business first of all, and then let's learn to tell stories that truly engage our audience, because our stories speak the language. Now, so I always refer our amazing audience to Obehi's 5-part book series on storytelling. I think it's a skill we need to learn. Not everyone can just tell business stories, every day of the week. But I think by learning how to perfect this skill, and I think Rami said it very well earlier. We all learn. We all get better at telling our stories over time. It's taken me 10 years to tell my stories the way I do these days. Who knows where it's going to be the next 10 years? And everyone here has taken us years to learn to tell our stories. Don't be scared of being the same, but you have to start somewhere. Design what you are there to, design based on your passion, design based on your unique solution, and then also design based on and then tell your stories based on your clients' interests, goals, passions, and what will resonate with them. Obehi, thank you very much, my brother. Always great to be here. I love our Mondays always.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. I always do. I appreciate you. Of course, without you, we would not be here. So this is why this is really important. This is our story. This is our opportunity to share, to contribute, and to engage the community. So thank you so much, brother. Thanks to all of you. Izu, Oladipe, thank you for the question. Thank you also for the contribution. And of course, Hannah and Tanya, and also that has gone now. Dr. Mansia, that have made invaluable contribution. Of course, all the people in the audience, we appreciate you. We are not taking you for granted at all. We appreciate you. We believe that storytelling is important for us. This is why we are here. We believe that it is a powerful instrument that we can use to identify, attract, and retain the right audience. We are not looking for all audience. We are looking for the right audience. Storytelling help us to do that. If I'm talking about that, the next conversation is going to be about that, which is 2 weeks from now. We're going to be talking about how to attract and retain the right audience or client through the power of storytelling. And this again is a reinforcement or reinforcing the line that we believe is powerful, which is using storytelling as a tool or as the right tool to attract and retain the audience. So I thank all of you for being here. It's really an honor to be able to participate in this ongoing conversation that we have here. Thank you, and please come around again in 2 weeks' time when we shall be talking about how to attract and retain the right audience through the power of storytelling.